Hello everybody! Welcome to ZeldaSpeedRuns, where we are hosting the Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword Any Percent Tournament. This is Losers Bracket Round 2, indykenobi versus Floha 258. Say hello everybody. I am going to be commentating for the first little bit until our commentator gets here. And we're going to be getting started in just a moment. Alright. Race will begin in 10 seconds, or at least on the IRC thing, which means for us about 40 seconds. In the meantime, let me pull up the bracket here, see where we're at with this tournament. One second, though. I'm not getting sound. There we go.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. Whew.
Yes, we can hear you.
Cool. Just barely.
Yeah, you made it on time. Awesome. So hello. So say hello to Deesh. Is that how we say it?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Say hello to Deesh, everybody. And the
Hello,
race
everybody.
is underway.
All right. Thank you. So, welcome oh, give me a sec, hold on. We're on a great start. I didn't even manage my cables all around here. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Skyward Sword Any Percent. This is lower bracket third round match, I believe. Let me check. I'm on the stream and I don't even see.
Yo.
Anyway, we have indykenobi and Floha 258 here. And the first thing you'll probably notice is that Floha spoke to Fledge right away at the start, but indykenobi didn't. And that's the start of the vastly different routes these two are going to be using. Floha is obviously playing on the Japanese version, and Indy is playing on the English version. And Indy is specifically playing on the North American 1.0 version, which has a special trick in Cistern that allows him to do a special route that he developed, which is going to skip bombs and digging mitts and do some wacky stuff in Cistern. So the reason Floha talked to Fledge is to set a flag in the game's memory to allow him easier access to places back in time later. And speaking of back in time, we're going to see that just quite soon up here, so no need to worry. So the back in time glitch. Most heavily used glitch in this game by freaking long shot. Basically the only one that's really even used in any percent anymore. It is activated by dying and then pressing continue and immediately resetting the game. And what back in time allows us to do is a bunch of different things. Specifically, we are mostly going to be using it for a form of memory manipulation, which is called reverse bit magic, or RBM for short. Bit standing for back in time. I know, it's an abbreviation within an abbreviation. So we can use RBM to apply certain flags onto our file. We're going to start right here by using RBM to give ourselves the Goddess Sword. And so also we want to copy our first file to file 3 here, and we're going to use file 3 to do something a little special. Right here you see Indy is going to delete the file and then save at a bird statue. What this does is it creates a corrupt file, which is just a file that has every value set to 0, which includes health, so that's very, very useful for death for back in time later. And we make our way up to the statue of the goddess. And then we're going to pick up the goddess sword, and then right as it's fully charged, we start our file. So this basically tricks a game into thinking that we have the inventory flag for the goddess sword set on our file. And so you don't see it right now, but after Indy goes into the cutscene where he meets Groose for the first time, that kind of acts as a reload, which sometimes you need for some of these RBMs, and you'll see, there you go. He's got the goddess sword. There you go. So now it's pretty fairly normal till the end of Skyloft. We just go to the cave. Groose is objectively the best character in the game. And if you say otherwise, you're wrong and should be banned. But yeah, rest of Skyloft is just basically just saving our Loftwing and then going through the tutorial. So a bit more about Back in Time. We can use Back in Time to do more than just simple memory manipulation, although the memory manipulation is quite the least simple thing about Back in Time. We can also use it as a limited form of teleportation, which is going to be the next couple times that we see the glitch used. And the way that works is there are a couple different types of things we're going to do. The first is the back in time or bit save, which is just basically saving a file in back in time. It can be combined with starting that file afterwards to have that file be saved on that state of the game on the map where the statue you saved that is. So that's quite useful for getting us closer to the goddess statue when we need, and even in some places we're going to use it for some Ferran back in time as well. It can also be combined with certain very specific RBMs, which we will see later, very, very much later. And another type of sort of teleportation is the bit warp, which is just done by saving a file and starting that file at the same time at a bird statue. And that takes the coordinates of where you saved and started, and applies them to your file, whatever map you're on. And the third type is a reverse bit warp, which takes, rather than taking the coordinates of where you save and of where you save and back in time, and applying them to your file, it applies the map that you enter to your file with the coordinates that you are at. So hence reverse. And it's done by just starting a file and entering a loading zone after starting. Here we go though. After the quite monotonous Loftwing tutorial with Zelda, we now use the corrupt file to die and activate back in time. And what we're going to do now is another RBM, which will be combined with a bit save. And this one in particular is going to be the practice sword. Now, this is kind of a sort of a dual RBM. Well, not a dual RBM. You might be wondering, why do we RBM the practice sword if we have the goddess sword already? Well, we need to do this because later on in the run, we need to have the story flag for having obtained the practice sword to be activated, and of course we skipped that. So yeah, we need that story flag activated for another RBM we're going to be doing later. So we want to make sure, so that we don't crash, we want to make sure we open the chest with the corrupt file selected, and then only open file 1 once the text is there. And then start it right as we clear the second text box. And there we go. Indy is good to go. And on to place the emerald tablet and go to the surface. So a little bit more about the game. The text difference is obviously quite a notable thing, or I would have mentioned. I wouldn't really have mentioned it, but Floha is playing on the Japanese version, which has about a 8 or 9 minute estimated difference over the English versions. And oh no, you see Floha must have opened the chest with the wrong file there, and his game is crashed. So that's not good. That's a very large time loss for him. But we do have a lot more run to go, so he can catch up. So anyway, back to text difference. The main thing, that's basically it. The text difference between the non-Japanese versions and the Japanese version is about 7 to 9 minutes, depending on what versions you have of the game. And the Japanese version does a whole different route to the non-Japanese, or the routes that are made specifically for the non-Japanese versions, and even more different from the route that Indy is going to do, because Indy's 1.0 version is quite special. And the reason that Japanese, or one of the major differences with the Japanese version, is that it skips one of the back in time tricks that we do to skip a lot of text, and it doesn't need to skip all that text because the text is just so fast. But the English version does need to skip that text, or it doesn't necessarily need to, but it's just a bunch faster. So a couple things Indy's doing here. When he dove off that platform, he went a little bit to the left, just to make sure that he dove into a different loading zone into the sky, and that spawns him closer to the Ferran pillar, and then he's jumping off early here. What this does is avoids a phi text trigger, which well, is quite slow. So pretty good Skyloft segment from Indy, and gets right in there to the surface. Oh, it happened again. So another crash from Floha, unfortunately. That really sucks. So one thing to note here is that we don't get the sailcloth, which is because well, because we can now, but something that we need to be careful of is fall damage, and if you get hit by the Dekubabas there, you either have to do a somewhat precise side hop down the spiral, run around the spiral, or just die. So we need to be careful about that there. So first dialogue option there. There are a few specific things you want to pay attention to when choosing those dialogue options. Namely, well, it really just depends on what point you're at in the, or like what option, what part of the game. I can't speak today, I apologize. Depending on what set of dialogue you have, you'll want to choose certain options. And throughout most of the first Ferran segment, you'll want to have be choosing the left dialogue options, and basically everything after that is the right dialogue option. So it's not too much to remember. So you see there, Indy collects the revitalizing potion, which is we do require a potion, or excuse me, a bottle, not a potion. We do require to have at least one empty bottle to complete this run. Otherwise, we are soft locked, and that's not good. Or we are kind of locked out of a certain area later in the game. So a bunch of boring text here, and the incredibly precise beacon, which we'll see in a bit. But also, speaking of text in this game, throughout most other Zelda games, it's fastest to just mash it, because the text either scrolls at a constant pace no matter what you do, or it can be instantly skipped, like in Twilight Princess. But in this game, the text scrolls faster if you hold the A button. So you have to hold the A button to just about the moment when the text box is ending, and then press A to continue it. Onto the next text box, that is. So you see the beacon that Indy placed, because the game feels the need to show you for quite a long time there. And oh, here we see one of the advantages of starting on hero mode. So another thing that I forgot to mention, I apologize, is that we do this run on hero mode, and there are several perks to that. The The first one you saw was that we were able to instantly skip all of the early game cutscenes. There's about 2 hours of cutscenes in this game, so we wouldn't quite go through all of them, I don't think, in a specifically normal mode run, but it's very good that we are able to skip those here. The second is we take double the damage, which is very useful for death warps and activating back in time. And the third, as you just saw there with Indy instantly killing all those bokoblins, is the Skyward Strike for the normal Goddess Sword is the same as the True Master Sword in normal mode. So it's very powerful enough to kill the base red bokoblins in one shot. And it's much more powerful than the normal Goddess Sword. Oh, you've got to be kidding. So here Indy is getting to save all of the Kikwees, and we see the first one here, this cute little plant penguin creature cowering on the floor. 1 second, please. I apologize. All right. Heck. And so this section is we're gonna start off by chasing this first Kikwee Machi around, and it's quite funny because we saved him, and he seems to think that we're another monster that has come to eat him instead of the red ones that were there. So we run around, and unfortunately, we have to scare the poor guy into running out of his hiding spots into other places, so that we can eventually find him. Then, right there, we bonk that set of wall to knock that vine down, which saves us having to go all the way around a big spiral portion and knocking down a rope. So now we talk to Machi, and oh no, we found him again. The most adorable but pathetic game of hide and seek. And once we don't attack him, he realizes, oh hey, you're not here to eat me, and hey, you actually saved me. And he gives us a bit of information on Zelda. And advises us, Fi advises us to keep him on our map, but of course, you know, we're speedrunners, we're too good to look at the map, so we won't be doing that at any point. And Machi recommends that we go talk to the Kikwee Elder. To get more information on Zelda. And if we talk to the Kikwee Elder right now, he just tells us, oh hey, can you go find the rest of my people, because I need to know where they are. I'm worried about them. But we already know where they are, so we just go save them right away. And here, if you missed it before, we get to see another example of the overpowered Skyward Strike in hero mode to kill all those bokoblins. And you see right there, Indy tried rolling into that tree. If you can frame perfectly, I will explain that right now, Harmjan. If you can roll at a one specific frame into that tree, you can actually knock the Kikwi down early. And unfortunately, due to some weird properties of that cutscene, the Kikwi does basically the same stuff, so it only ends up saving about 2 seconds at most. But it's a swag trick, and if you get it, you are automatically, your run is automatically the world record. So yet another Kikwi that is telling us about the Elder. Poor guy was stuck in a tree with shaky legs. And then seems like Fi is quite the most terrifying creature in the forest, and is scaring all these poor little plant penguins into hiding under the plants on their back like lobsters in a shell. So, cool strat here. We do 2 Skyward Strikes to clear all that grass around Urla, who actually has a pretty good hiding spot. And he's the only one that's not afraid of Fi, surprisingly. And he's the one that actually talks the least, which is kind of a blessing. Because the less text, the better, especially on English. Indy also pushing his this log down here to because we need to come back here later, and that log is a pretty sizable shortcut. So we just go there. We just go there and push it down now. And this is the last Kikwi, Ulo. And with Ulo, we are good to go back to the Kikwi Elder and get some information about our precious Zelda. And this particular dialogue option there is, most dialogue options in this game aren't very important, but that one is actually quite important. If you select the right one by accident, or not on accident, I'm not going to be too specific about that, but if you select the right dialogue option, it's not good. It's about 10 seconds or more slower, depending on your version, than the left dialogue option. So if your latest PB happened to accidentally select or again, not accidentally, if it happened to select the right dialogue option there with the Kikwi Elder, you have some free time save by just selecting the left option. And with that, Indy now has the slingshot in just under 28 minutes, which is a very respectable time for the slingshot. For getting the slingshot. Although, of course, because he's very far ahead of us, it was probably more like under 27.5 minutes. So very, very nice. Even better. And now with that, we can access the deep woods. So Indy's going to try a very special trick. Very special trick here, which is called extending blow. Unfortunately, it is RNG dependent, but it will allow us to save a very sizable portion of time. Yes. The bombless strats for Skullterra. So, first we need to kill that Bokoblin so that he's not in our way. Then we want to slingshot this guy, and we want to stand in a specific spot and do a... Nope, it didn't work. So, basically, you want to do that trick, you need to have the Bokoblin bounce in a specific spot on the very edge of the cliff there, and do a final blow. And if he bounces right, which is unfortunately RNG dependent, the game will, because he's over a void or higher ground and voids obviously kill enemies in this game. The game considers the enemy dead, but you can still final blow him. Also, Indy right here trying to skip Phi, and he gets it. There's a Phi trigger there that you can get around by that jump slash. But if he's over a void, the game considers the enemy dead. And if you can still final blow him, because the enemy's dead, the game doesn't have anywhere to send Link, so it just sends him to the coordinate. It just flings him towards the 0, 0 coordinates, XZ coordinates. And for this area, that just so happens to be right in front of Skyview. So here we have the next usage of nice voice crack. The next usage of Back in Time with Indy. So this one is going to be a simple bit warp to the middle of Skyview and skips about 2/3 of the dungeon, which is very nice. So you'll notice he bonks that tree with file 2, and what bonking that tree will do is it will update the flags that you have, the scene flags specifically, that you have from whatever file you've selected in Back in Time. And because that file is saved on Skyloft with the Academy gates open, the scene flag for the Academy gates to be open is loaded into Back in Time when he bonks the tree, and so he can just go straight through the gates, which saves a little bit of time over having to jump off the edge of the stairs rather than do that. And then with the bit warp, the coordinates for the Upper Academy statue just so happen to be right in the middle of the dungeon there, and it saves a bunch of time. So you'll notice Indy just came right over here to kill this Stalgia and broke those boards. Entering the Stalgia room is just to reload the area because a bunch of stuff isn't properly loaded, and breaking those boards sets a flag that we need in back in time for later. Specifically, I believe it is having Betrot's or the door to the shed open. So that's very nice. By the way, again, neglected to mention the updating flags in back in time is called bit magic, and hence reverse bit magic being putting flags from back in time onto our file, because bit magic is putting flags from our file onto back in time. Now, Indy with the beetle. The beetle, by the way, is a sick item. And if you haven't played this game, I don't know what kind of rock you've been living under, but the beetle. This game is worth playing if for nothing other than the beetle. Also, a very, very cool puzzle here. The same kind of pink gemstone that we had to strike to open that gate, we have to strike it with the beetle instead to get back out. So that was a very, very fun, clever puzzle for them to put in. And another thing that Indy needs to do here to set a file to set a flag to bit magic onto his file is to come up here and collect that rupee with the beetle. What that does is allows the door to Betrot's house to be open, which is needed for a very, very large time saver RBM later. Breaking the boards and that red rupee combined allow us to do that RBM, and as well as one other. So you see Indy saving here, and now that we have those flags set on this file, we need to copy it to file 3, but we are going to combine that copy with an RBM. So this is one of the RBMs that I was talking about that we need the practice sword story flag for. So first, he's going to copy his file 1 over file 3. And then bonk the tree to open the academy gate, and he's going to go to the lower academy bird statue. Then he's going to bit save file 3. And what bit saving does is, aside from saving your coordinates there, or aside from saving your file there, it also updates story flags. So now we have that story flag loaded, and we can start the file and run into the cutscene trigger for the Gossip Stone. And then that scene flag is set for this area. Now, what scene flag was it? That scene flag is for Girahim, and it's something pretty cool for Girahim. I'm not going to spoil it just yet. I'll just let you watch. And one more thing you may have noticed is that he copied file 1 to file 3 again after saving, and that's just to keep that third file here because it means a very, very fast death later on. So very, very useful. Now, what did that RBM do for the Girahim fight? Well, obviously we got the boss key, so it couldn't have been to open the boss door, right? Well, that RBM actually makes Girahim the toughest boss in the game. And you'll see why in a sec. So, intense Girahim fight coming up. Alright. Indy with a very good Girahim fight. Completely skipping it, actually. And yeah, that's what that RBM did. That RBM was for the flag that allows the door behind the Girahim fight to be open. And then he can just come right through here and get the Amber Tablet. So Indy is doing another back in time here, and this is a pretty special one. So one of the special things that we do in this run with back in time is we're able to actually access Ferran in back in time. Ferran. I pronounce it like every possible way there is because I can't be bothered to remember which one I like best. So this is a story flag RBM, and it's quite specific. Yeah, it allows us to access Ferran back in time, as I said. But anyway, right here, we bonk the tree with file 2. And then we collect that rupee. Collecting that rupee with file 1 updates our inventory flags. So now we have specifically the Emerald Tablet in our inventory. And then we select that bird statue with file 3, which updates scene flags. And now we just enter the goddess statue. Also, I was wrong. The boards in Nostalgia Room were not for Betro. They were for this, which allows us to just let that pedestal rise without having to Skyward strike it. And because we loaded the Emerald Tablet into our inventory, we can now, the Amber Tablet into our inventory, we can now place it in the pedestal there and load the Elden Pillar into our back in time map. And if we start this at a specific time just before the story flag sets, we now have the Elden Pillar early on file 2. And there we go. Looks like he got it. You can also tell if he got it by the text here, which if you can't read Japanese, then this won't work for Japanese. And there we go. You'll see the text at the bottom of his file 2 said, travel to the Elden Light Pillar to the northeast or something like that. So now that we have no use for this potion anymore and no use to be on low health, we can just use it right now. Now of course we also, we only put the Elden Pillar on file 2, so we have to come back up and set it with file 1, or our run file, that is. Now we are off to Eldin. Floha there, dying to a goblin just after nostalgia, sadly. He's had a very unlucky run, this man. And now Indy is into Eldin. So the first thing we're going to do here is another bit warp. Ta-da! So thankfully we have this fire chew right here, so we can damage down pretty quick. And then we jump into the lava because it has a much faster death animation. And this is the fastest bit warp you can do. We're going to do it at the Bazaar statue. It does have quite specific positioning, so you do need to be careful. But it's not that bad. It's a very large range of positions. It's just not the entire or anywhere you can save at the statue. So he lines up. Oh no, I forgot. Indy's doing a different route. So this is. Ignore me. We will see Floha do the Eldin bit warp later. This is a bit warp, but it is the first instance of Ferran back in time that Indy's going to be using. Now, this bit warp that Indy's going to do is with the sealed ground statue, or the behind the temple statue that is. But first, a little bit on how to get to Ferran and back in time. So obviously the saving at the statue with file 2 to load its story flags, and then we want to load into the sky with a different file than file 2 because it has the sky loading zone all around Skyloft, but during the fade out then load in file 2. And don't worry, it's not quite as precise as it sounds. It's actually very easy because we want to load specifically into the state, the Loftwing tutorial state of the game. And the reason that the Eldin Pillar then loads us into Ferran is because it's our first time on the it's considered our first time on the surface because of how we loaded into the sky. So the game plays the Ferran entrance cutscene, and that cutscene puts us in Ferran. So this bit warp puts us way over here. And you might be wondering, where the heck is Indy going right now? Don't worry, he knows what he's doing. He's probably about the only one who knows what he's doing, but he knows what he's doing. So that bit warp was there to skip the digging mitts, which are not required for this run, and they're only really faster on the English 1.0 version, or it is only faster to skip them on the English 1.0 version, which is Indy's version of the game. But yes, all of that is solid. Don't ask me why, because I don't know. So, but yeah, for other versions, there's really no known faster way to skip digging mitts. There is technically a faster way to skip digging mitts, but it is with a basically pixel perfect bit warp that only one person has ever managed to pull off RTA once, and many people have tried over and over and over and over again. So yeah, it's very, very difficult, unfortunately. Probably TES only. But anyway, we now have another bit warp, I think. Oh, no, okay. I was gonna say, I didn't quite know what Indy was doing here. Now this RBM is going to be for the just before the Goddess Crest kind of lights up there. And most RBMs need a commit, and basically what a commit is just to make a scene change for the most part before reloading, so that the effect of the RBM stays. But with Eldin, for some reason, certain places in this game have weird properties, and Eldin is one of them. And Eldin does not need a commit. So Indy is just gonna hop right into another RBM here. And this one is going to open the door to Earth Temple. So he's going to start by entering this house. And something to note is that loading zones also update story flags. But... oh. And they can also be kind of weird. Now, he sleeps tonight, and we want to particularly have file 2 selected when we go out here, because well, another weird property of loading zones is that certain layers in Back in Time don't work, and the nighttime layers for Skyloft Back in Time well, none of the layers of Skyloft Back in Time work after getting the Hero's Tunic. So because that file 2 was saved before getting the Hero's Tunic, he can load into Night Back in Time. Unfortunately, there is no known way to come out of a loading zone into daytime Back in Time on Skyloft or in the sky. But we make do with what we have, and what we have is quite a lot, so we're thankful for it. And there you go. Obviously, because he set the flag for the door to Earth Temple to be open, he just kind of enters the cutscene trigger to enter, and then voila, here he is. So you'll notice right there, he turned around before running further into the temple, which is because basically actors and everything that is... Ooh, Indy with a gold split. GG, congrats, nice. Basically actors, anything that moves really, that is off screen in this game does not move. It's just like frozen. So we do that at the start of Earth Temple to get a good cycle with those platforms. Now another major route difference is going to come here just after this RBM. Basically, this RBM it's actually the same one that we just did to enter Earth Temple, and it's going to make the peg bridge to advance further into the dungeon rise up. But where it changes is that we need Indy is not going to get bombs. We normally get bombs afterwards, but with Indy's route, you can do you can get really very easily get around using bombs, and it saves a little bit of time, but we'll see if it's worth it, because as a result, you have to do a very difficult and precise strategy for Scaldera, which could soft lock. So yeah, not a good way for Run to die. So you see there, same RBM he did earlier. And you can tell it works because of the way the camera pans over. So the commit, he basically just needs to reload here. And there you go, the bridge is up. I believe the commit there is for the cutscene of watching the bridge, right? That happened right after he did the RBM. Not 100% sure about that though. You'd have to ask him if he's the only one who knows anything about this route. Now, for this, to get past these boulders, we're going to do something called Stagger Sprinting, which Indy is doing right now. If we stand in that little corner and immediately run up the slope just as those boulders go past us, we can run up without more boulders spawning, and by repeatedly holding and letting go of A, we can kind of preserve a bit of momentum and stamina to get up to the top in one stamina wheel. Now Indy has the boss key, and Indiana Jones moment here. Except sadly without the legendary music, which probably was copyrighted and couldn't have been used. So it's a crying shame Nintendo did not ask for permission to use that legendary Indiana Jones song for that moment. So Indy coming up on his very scary fight with Scaldera. Most of the time we pick up extra bombs there, but obviously Indy doesn't have the bomb bag, so not exactly gonna work. He doesn't really have anywhere to put them. But yeah, just right on the Scaldera. So I know how the normal Scaldera strat works. I have no idea how Indy's Scaldera strat works, so you'll forgive me hopefully if I have no idea what I'm talking about, but I'll try to explain what he's doing the best I can. Actually, I can give some general information on Scaldera. We have a specific set of attacks that we do, including the Skyward Strike and just normal slashes to beat Scaldera in certain amount of cycles. Now, sadly, this strat that Indy's about to do is very difficult and very precise. So let's just watch and hope he gets it. So you're going to start by rolling that bomb right into Scaldera's open mouth. And give it one hit. Give the eye one hit, that is. And the reason he only hits it once is to do for specific damage cycles, so that he doesn't enter the next phase or the next phases too quickly. And then he's going to do 2 Skyward Strikes and a spin attack here. So he doesn't have time to throw another bomb down there, so he's going to let Scaldera just shoot his fireballs and then throw a bomb there. And now he has a specific strike to do here. Nice. Good fight. So the last set of strikes there is a Skyward Strike, a spin attack, and then another Skyward Strike, but the last Skyward Strike has to be a certain distance away so that he actually hits Scaldera with both the sword and the Skyward Strike. And it kind of counts as 2 hits, which is quite precise, but you can usually more or less feel your way around it. It's not too hard to do, but if you have if Scaldera's eye is not cooperating, then you might not get it. But the perfect fight from Indy, without bomb bag, that is. And now he has the Topaz tablet? I think it's called the Topaz tablet, whatever. The tablet that allows him to go to the next region. So, what he's gonna do now, ooh, this is another thing that I forgot to explain. Also something that I don't understand too well. I mean, I understand it, I just can't put it into words. Said the person who never understands anything. So, we're not gonna go right to Nehru right away. We're going to go to the Thunderhead in the west, which, if you know anything about this game, you know we are not even close to having unlocked. Well, stand corrected, please, because you're wrong. So you'll see in the background there's that beam of light pointing to the Thunderhead, which means it's open and we can enter it. So the Thunderhead is a story, being open is a story flag, which is, I believe, like activated by a scene flag. So if we have the scene flag for the, which is on Skyloft, the light tower being, or the beam of light going into the Thunderhead being activated, we did happen to have that same scene flag set in Earth Temple, it was cutting a rope at the very start, and when he RBM'd the peg bridge to be up, that was kind of a dual RBM. It RBM'd the peg bridge to be up, and it was a story flag. Oh, very close to the Skytails. That would not have been fun. And it also story flag RBM'd the Thunderhead to be open. So yeah, basically if you have that scene flag and you loaded or set on your file and you do a scene flag update back in time, the opening of the Thunderhead cutscene plays, and you can RBM that, which is very nice. It's very nice. So that's how we're here now. We have another fun puzzle with this time pushing around a... What is this called? A turnstile? No, that's not a turnstile. I know what a turnstile is. That's not a turnstile. We'll just call it a thing for now. Does that work? Yeah, we'll just call it a thing. So we push around this thing, and those 3 blocks in the big 3 rings around the island correspond to 3 parts of the bridge, and we push it in certain ways and strike the gemstones in certain ways so that things aren't blocking the blocks and we can get into the place, which is where we need to go. And now we have Feror's Courage, which is it's one of the songs in this game, and we need it because of layer issues. We need it to activate to enter the Ferran. Well, it's not necessarily because of layer issues. We need it to open the Ferran Trial. Now we could RBM the Ferran Trial in, but because of layer issues, as I was going to say, because of layer issues, we need Feror's Courage as well. So what Indy's doing now is another back in time to, and it's, if you remember earlier, just after Skyview, he RBM'd the Elden Pillar onto File 2. And he's going to do basically the exact same thing now, but because we have the Topaz tablet now, we're going to activate the Lanayru Pillar. So he's going to bit save File 1 there. Then yeah, basically it's the same stuff as with the Elden Pillar. He selects a statue with File 3 to update the scene flag so that the pedestal can just rise up. Picks up a rupee for to have the Topaz tablet in his inventory, and then place it in the thing. Unfortunately, Floha doesn't have the Elden tablet on File 1 and can't do early Elden Pillar, so he may, unless he can go back and get it, he may have to forfeit, which would be very awful. So, please say it ain't so. So yeah, basically, as you see Indy do there, it's the same thing as the Elden Pillar, and you got it. So, he's just gonna fly straight to Laneru. And that skips a bit of text and things and stuff, and a bit of cutscene and a bit of travel. A lot
So,
of travel.
sorry to interrupt. I'm going to jump in here real fast to tell you that Floha has officially forfeited from the race.
Okay.
So, this is indykenobi's.
Man.
He has to finish the race in order to claim the win. So, that's what we're doing now.
Crying shame. Poor Floha. Yeah. So that's what happens when you enter a tourney in a game you haven't run in so long. But well, we still get to see a very good showcase of a different route than anything anyone's used during the tournament with Indy. So GG from Floha, and well, let's continue. F to pay respects to Floha. And Floha's run. And Floha's Amber Tablet. Specifically. So, basically, Indy has the Laneru pillar, and so he can just go straight to Laneru, and, for anyone who really likes Laneru, savor it while we have it, because you're not going to see it for long. So, the RBM that I was talking about, where we need the red rupee to bit magic from Skyview, was the flag for us to be able to enter Betrot's house here. And we also bit magic with file 3. File 3? I'm having a brain fart. Yes, Indy's gonna finish the run. Yeah, we bit magic in a few flags from file 3 to open the shed and Betrot's house door. And then we're just gonna have a nice little chat with him. Nice chill little talk. And best music in the game, by the way, or it's some of the best. Up there with Grease's theme. It's the best music we hear in the run. We'll say that. So basically, Betrot's just telling us that even though he was scary, he doesn't actually mean harm. And he just wants to turn human, and he tells us to go find a bunch of star bits, and then we start our file as soon as he finishes his talk, which is on the 6th text box after the dialogue option. And then we have to commit it, like I said earlier, by making a scene change, and that rupee counts as a scene change. And you might be wondering what that did. Well, you'll see in a moment. So, also something to note about the story flag RBMs we've done so far. The Laneru, Eldin, or Laneru Pillar, Eldin Pillar, and Thunderhead RBMs. Because they're story flags, they don't need to be committed, so they're special in that way. As well as the fact that they don't they're not area specific. So yeah. Anyway, oh, look, he has a second bird statue way up to the left there. And that bird statue is right behind where we normally come out of Laneru Mining Facility. So we can, and we don't need to do anything in Laneru aside from get the harp. So we go in, get the harp, and go right back out. And bye-bye Laneru Mining Facility. And in a bit, bye-bye Laneru. So I'm not going to open my mouth too early because I think Indy might be doing a bit of a different route here. Aw, don't sweat it, Floha. It happens. You know, Hugo didn't even show up for his first run, so you have that over him at least. No, it looks like I was wrong. It looks like Indy's going to be doing the same route, so I will explain what I think he's gonna do, but if he differs from what I think he will, sorry, I didn't think to go over his route before this. Anyway, basically the same process to get to Ferran back in time. And for every Ferran back in time, we usually load into, or most of them, we usually load into Ferran with file 3 just because that's the most convenient. And we usually like to load into loading zones with very specific files, as I said earlier. So yeah, we want to load into file 3, and it's mainly just to skip the cutscene that we normally get when it's our first time landing in Ferran, so that saves a little bit of time there for every Ferran back in time. And this is a kind of reverse bit warp, but it's extra complicated. So, phone, I apologize. It just seems everyone wants to call me right now. Well, not me specifically, because I have no friends, but the house. So, loading that file, because we're in the area of the Ferran Trial, and we have Ferror's Courage, Phi gives us that text, ooh, we have a trial nearby. So here, because we enter with file 1, and at this point in the game, Groose is supposed to be here. We need to just go through this cutscene, and we need to make sure not to change any files, because we want to keep a certain flag that gets set during this cutscene onto back in time, and if we change around which files we have selected, we get rid of that flag. So Indy's going to enter without changing files, and then using the Wii Motion Plus menu, by the way, and then he's going to open the splash screen and open file 2 and load into, and then go into that circle with file 2 and then start file 1 on the end of that text box. Now that is not an RBM, that is a reverse bit warp. And specifically that loads him into the cutscene with where the second imprisoned fight is supposed to start, or where the gate of time rises, and then the first imprisoned fight, not second, the first imprisoned fight is meant to start. So, and a special property about reverse bit warps is that if you are saved at a save prompt, then you'll, and you do a reverse bit warp, you'll just enter from the normal entrance. It won't really have any coordinates set. So that's why he just spawns right in the middle of the circle in the sealed temple. Now, come along for the ride, we have another Ferran back in time. Now this one is extra, 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 extra special. This one, he needs to come up here and select the Upper Academy bird statue with file 1. And then say bit save with file 2 and continue the rest of the process to get to Ferran and back in time. So this one is a bit complicated. The reason we select that statue with file 1 is because it has a flag that we need to keep set, or that we need to have set in back in time throughout this back in time session here. No, I mean, it's as special, it's almost as special as you, Floha. Heart. Okay. Anyway, continuing on after whatever I just said. Load in Ferran with file 3 as usual, and then he wants to load into behind the temple with file 2. I'm not 100% sure behind the technicalities of this, some of the technicalities of this, so I don't know 100% everything about this trick, but I know what you need to do. So he wants to be sure to bit save file 1 here, but when he does, he wants to save and quit specifically, and then load up file 2. The reason he saves and quit is and quits. Of course, he doesn't actually quit. He selects no, I don't want to quit. Is because otherwise we would lose that flag that we have. And to do this RBM, he starts his file and then holds Z and 2 at the same time. And there we go, he got it. So that one was a bit wacky, but basically what happened there was the Upper Academy statue is required for that RBM, and because the actual RBM that he does, also there's the commit, is for the cutscene of the Lake Floria doors opening, and it has to have a flag set prior for that cutscene to happen. And then, yeah, so you can tell he got it as well because of the way the camera stayed on Link's back, and he kind of went into like a crouch stance. And then he just comes over here to the Ferran Trial. Now he's going to try to do a harp cancel, which you'll see what that is in a moment if he gets it, which I know he will because Indy's nuts. So we can actually play, fun fact, we can actually play the harp a fair bit faster than the circle says. Of course, Indy is not good at playing the harp. Oh, and he didn't even get the trick. Man, Indy, you're... Oh god, I shouldn't say that. But basically, if he puts his harp away right as he starts to strum for the last pedal around the trial there, he can skip that whole cutscene of Fi singing, and a funny side effect of that is that the trial will be invisible. There won't even be the, like, haze with the blessed butterflies around it, but the trial will be there. So yeah, now is about the time for a layout change, because Fi is just going to go on a really long tangent.
Yeah, so I'm going to switch now. We'll probably get a black screen for a moment, so hang tight.
Well, it's fine. I trust Indy not to splice.
And I am working on getting this screen actually fit correctly.
Right. Now after that super long spiel, we have the Ferran Trial. There's nothing too much to say about the trials or silent realms as they're formally called. But basically all the tiers are gonna spawn in the same place every time, and so we have routes for them, and in the route for the Ferran Silent Realm in particular is basically just going around in a giant circle. So yeah, Fi tells us about the waking water, and yeah, we don't want to step in it. So yeah, there's really not much to say. Fun fact: this is actually the first trial that we're supposed to do in the normal order of the game, casually. But in other categories, all dungeons and 100% specifically, we don't do this trial first. We do the Laneru trial first in 100%, and I think we actually do the Skyloft trial, which is the last trial first, and we do that one first in all dungeons. So yeah, wacky game. At least he showed up for his first match, though, Hugo. Unlike somebody we know. And there we go. That's that trial done. And there you see another specific thing for Indy's version of the game is that what he did there by rolling just right into the circle is, man, imagine being so brain farted that you forget what a circle is called. He rolls into the circle, and on his version of the game specifically, he can actually skip the little jingle that normally plays at the end of a trial. So very, very nice, very nice. Not really a time save, just kind of a swag thing. And now, I think another route change. Not 100% sure. So yeah, activates back in time, just like normal. Actually, no, I'm wrong. There's not another route change. So, what he's gonna do here is, I will wait to explain because I'm still not 100% sure what if he's actually doing what I think he's going to. Never mind, we're good. So he bit saves file 1 there, and he needs to make sure to have a different file selected once he gets control of Link, because he doesn't want the early Thunderhead cutscene to play, which soft locks Link, because that flag is set in Ferran, so it would be there on file 1. And now he wants to come in here and sleep to morning to kind of advance where the game is in terms of story, and then RBM, just RBM on that jingle to give him the 5 crystals. There we go. To give him the 5 crystals in his inventory from Rhina, her name is. I don't entirely know how to pronounce it. And those 5 crystals are used for another RBM that we're going to do right away here in Elden. So it's basically the same RBM he did before to get behind Lanera Mining Facility, but this time he has 5 gratitude crystals on him, and so he'll do, I think, most of the same stuff. Then go into Betro's house and talk to him, but the text is different this time. There's much less text and RBM on the last text box. So he also picks up that stamina fruit because file 1 has the water dragon scale. So he picks that up, and now he can jump in the water and do that instead of going over the bridge, which is a little bit faster. And then he wants to have his camera facing a certain way there, because if he has his camera facing a certain area of Skyloft, because of a scene flag we have set on file 3, we could get a cutscene that we can't escape from, sadly. So, yeah. RBM, the second text box that Betro has here after the item text box, and then voila. He just needs to reload, which he does by dying. And then the Elden Trial should be there. And yep, here we go. So thankfully not a super long spiel this time. I promise. Worry not. Worry not. You can get right into this one. Although this is the longest trial and for most the hardest. But as speedrunners, obviously we know what we're doing every single day of the week, every single time. So Indy has no need to worry about not knowing where the tears are or dying, because we as speedrunners never die. As you've seen during this run, Indy has not died even once. So again, nothing too special to say about the trials. Something else that may be worth noting is he's running into light fruits now, not getting a cutscene, but the when he got the first light fruit in Ferran, he actually did get a cutscene for that one. But that one he ran into on purpose because that cutscene refills stamina, and it just happens to be very useful right at that moment. Ooh, very close to the watcher there. Yeah, all the watchers are on cycles in this game, so if you're fast, you should be able to get past them all pretty easily. I feel like I missed an opportunity to make a pun. I wanted to make a pun about ropes just then, and then I completely forgot. And you're just able to make it past that watcher again. No, not that type of pun, Floha. Jeez. Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna. I thought you were like assuming which type of pun I wanted to make. No, I promise. It was not that type. Yeah, imagine having a worse PB than Hugo. Oh, sorry about that. I thought you were saying wow at the type of pun that you assumed I wanted to make. Alright, so done with that trial again, and now we get the fire shield earrings. And basically this just allows us to not catch on fire in hot places. Because a really, really hot room would totally light you on fire in real life, because that's exactly how it works in real life, right, guys? Right? Anyway. Yeah, we need these to get to the volcano summit. So that's where we'll be heading right next. After a little bit more of a congrats from Fi and advice from her. Now you can obviously tell this room is very hot, but with our magical earrings, we no longer have to worry about being hot. So Indy obviously having to take damage from the chew. Oh, also they prevent you from staying on fire after something lights you on fire. But yeah, Indy taking damage from the chew there for 2 back in time tricks that he has to do now. So this first one, I'm actually not sure which order he's going to do them in, so we shall see. We shall see. Okay. It looks like, yeah. So the first one is sort of a Ferran back in time trick, except technically it's actually the Sky back in time trick. He's going to do the same process for Ferran back in time and go to Ferran. Aha! We have a raid. Welcome, welcome everybody from Zelda Speedruns 2. Welcome to the Skyward Sword Any Percent tournament. We are just about to enter Fire Sanctuary. So la-di-da, going to Ferran just like usual. And so this RBM opens the, or it makes the flames right outside, right in the entrance to Fire Sanctuary disappear, because it's a bit special because it's actually tied both to a scene flag and a story flag, and we only set the scene flag, so if we go in there, then come back out, then go back in, the flames will be back up. So we need to make sure that we don't mess anything up here. But again, he wants to go to the Sky with file 2 because that's in state of the game, or the Lofting tutorial state. And then he's gonna fly really, really high up. And also something to note is that he opened the splash screen, which by default loads file 3's scene flags, or the last file we have any data on. So if we don't have file 3, it loads file 2. If we don't have file 2, it loads file 1. Get the point. And so we do that to load file 3's story flags, and that includes being able to dive off of our loft wing. And so it looks like we're having a bit of trouble finding the island. So if there we go. So we're gonna dive all the way over to the lumpy pumpkin, and because we only have this game only has a maximum of 4 hearts fall damage in hero mode, we don't die from that. Now we enter the lumpy pumpkin with Zelda's text that's still on screen, which unfortunately is not the same thing as storage in Wind Waker. So yeah, we can't do anything with that. Anyway, sleep in the bed tonight, and for some reason, in the sky back in time, loading files with the hero's tunic at night doesn't actually crash, unlike in Skyloft. So he's gonna RBM by starting and then getting that gratitude crystal, and then to commit it, he's just going to go into this little waterfall area out here, and then go back in. Then he has another short RBM to do. By the way, Indy, don't forget to get water, like I did. So this RBM is the same one that we saw earlier to skip Garahem. He's going to bit save file 3 at the Lower Academy statue. This time he's not going to copy any files though, because there's no need for that. This time it doesn't really make anything faster. And then start file 1 and go into the Gossip Stone cutscene. Gossip Stone? Sheikah Stone? Which one is it called in this game? I know it's called the Gossip Stone. It's definitely called the Gossip Stone. And voila. So we're going to use a commit way back out here. And unfortunately just entering the area doesn't commit this time. So we have to bonk that wall, which I bet you didn't know lets a fairy out. And then we get water, because we need water for this first frog right here. And that second RBM put out the flames, or the second small set of flames here in this little bit of cave outside of Fire Sanctuary. These two, however, are not tied to any story flags, so if we go out and come back in, it just they stay down. So you notice, and we can't access the second one because we need claw shots to get to it. You see vines up by it, and now that we've done all that crazy stuff, we're entering Fire Sanctuary. And Fire Sanctuary is a bit of a weird one. Well, ooh, gold. Congrats, Indy. Looks like a good run for you. So, I hope everyone loves the title screen, because we are going to spend a lot of time on the title screen in this game, or in this dungeon. So we're gonna start. Basically, we do just a bunch of RBMs and then leave. Funny enough, we leave with Back in Time again. So we'll start with this one. We're gonna go in here and sleep until night to load gratitude crystals in, because they only appear at night. And then RBM with this one. And then commit with the hidden rupee on that owl statue. Thankfully, these are all a bunch of really short RBMs, so we don't have much to worry about here. So 2 of these RBMs are to skip the magma mitts, which normally we need to access the boss key, but with a couple RBMs we can skip it. Another is to have the gates behind the room with the boss key open. And then a third is to have the special inside Fire Sanctuary bird statue unlocked on our map. So, final RBM here. This one is going to be with the lower academy. So this is one of the RBMs of the 2-part RBM. The lower academy statue is one of the RBMs that allows us to skip magma mitts. The other one is the bizarre statue, but we're not going to actually use that one right now. I don't believe, anyway. We will see, but basically those two, the 2 flags we need set to have, to skip the magma mitts are to have the Moldorm in that room dead. I couldn't tell you Frank is cool. There are like probably 30 deaths in total in this run. We're probably already at about 15 to 20. So you bit saves with file 1 there. Actually, I'll finish explaining magma mitt skip. So to basically to skip the magma mitts in Fire Sanctuary, we need to have the flag set for the Moldorm to be dead that's in that room, and the bars in front of the boss key chest to be open. I'm trying to do too many things at once. Brain farting again. So he bit saves with file 1 there instead, which doesn't particularly mean anything in terms of access to the sky and his locking it back in time, as long as he loads into the sky with file 2. So, but what that does do is it puts his coordinates in a position that allows him easy access for, this is a reverse pit warp, into Ancient Cistern. And the coordinates of where he saved after the Tsar statue just let him easily, let him not have to worry about positioning, because he has, obviously, Cistern Clip on his version of the game. So, Indy can reverse pit warp with the Bazaar statue, which just spawns him in the middle room, or the main room, that is. Normally, for when you save at that bird statue in Fire Sanctuary, for this reverse pit warp, you need very precise positioning, and you do like an Ocarina of Time style setup for it. But with Cistern Clip, which Indy has, and you will see once he enters Cistern, he doesn't need that specific setup. So shooting a slingshot seed there actually loads inventory items. If he starts his file at the right time here, he will spawn in a bunch of water, and there we go. So here we go. He's gonna save for safety here at this bird statue because this trick can soft lock. It's not likely, but it is possible. Every bit of safety counts. So right here, there's, I'm not sure if you can see it, but there's a little seam right in the doorway there that you can fall through. And if you fall through it just right, which it seems that Indy is having trouble with, there we go. Oh. Well, first he had to die. He does need more. Yeah, intentional. Totally. Yeah, he totally couldn't have just drowned in the water. Anyway. You can walk all the way around here, and he's going to jump down into the water there, and onto the foot, and because of where the statue is, he can just load right into the whip room and get the whip. So, yeah, a bit of wacky out-of-bounds stuff there. Don't question it. No, seriously, don't. So, the Stalfos there, or the Stallmaster there, that is called, just lying dead on the ground. Now, normally that is a mini-boss fight, but only if we run into his... Yeah, don't question anything in this game. But only if you run into his trigger, so Indy running around the outside of the room to avoid that guy's cutscene trigger. And then he needs to exit the statue on this level because the second level has a door with a small key, so which he doesn't have, so he can't open it. And then he just comes right back to do Cistern Clip again. You get to see it twice, actually 3 times. So for this one, instead of doing weird out-of-bounds stuff to get to the whip, I know, this dungeon route is really cool. He actually loads into the basement loading zone. So he can just come straight down here, get straight away, get to the boss key. Now that he has the boss key, you can just come right in here. And go all the way right up to the top and go to the boss fight. Indy, do not jump off there. That was very close to not a good time. So yeah, Coloctos has a very tricky bombless strat. Normally with Coloctos, you want to have 2 bombs which defeat his first phase in one cycle, and then use the Skyward Strike on his second cycle, or on his second phase to defeat it in one cycle, but it's a bit different because Indy obviously does not have bombs. So saving just to be safe, because that's what saving does. And then we have the best boss in the game coming up. Some would even argue the best boss in all of Zelda, and I would argue the same, but I mean, to be honest, if you think any boss is better than this boss, you're just wrong. So, fight starts. Yes, Floha has the right idea. So starts off just like normal. He's going to let him attack him twice, and then take off his 2 arms. And then the third time, he's going to just remove both of his arms, and he's not actually going to do just wail on him right away. He does 3 spin attacks. Sadly died there. Almost got the strat with the Skyward Strike and a few extra attacks, but sadly the boomerang axes just came back to get him. It's alright though, because he saved right outside the boss room, so no biggie. Sadly, he didn't get the jump slash, so it didn't quite do the damage he wanted, but not to worry, it doesn't do many damage, thankfully, so just on to the next phase. Or cycle. Yeah, if it was on to the next phase, he would have gotten it. Hello, Chris Spidey. So now for the second phase, we have to whip Clockto's sword away from him, use it to break his little metal cage over his heart, or his weak spot, and then 2 Skyward Strikes defeats him, because for some reason in hero mode, Skyward Strike just does absurd amounts of damage to Galactos. So, I don't know. But, hey, whatever works. We'll take it. Now from here, it's just back to Fire Sanctuary, and if you got all the RBMs successfully, then you should only have one more to do, and he will be able to enter from the sky, because Fire Sanctuary has a special bird statue that you can actually fly from to the sky, which other dungeons do not have. There we go. Inside the Fire Sanctuary bird statue, and right away, he's going to do a little bit of death, as has become the norm for this speedrun. So because he doesn't have bombs, he has to take a little bit of damage from these guys, which sadly attack quite slow. And and of course with invincibility frames, he just jumps straight through the second attack. there we go. Last RBM with Bizarre Statue. And to commit, it goes over here, whips that pot, and... What? Oh. Oh. Is it in the wall or something? I did not see the pot. Anyway, whips the pot and breaks it, and gets the fairy for safety later on. And now, we can just come straight in here and get the boss key. Now we can run. We can just run straight to the boss door and fight Girahim again. Well, not exactly again, because we didn't fight him the first time. So this fight is actually quite similar to the first. It's just that in the first phase, he has darts surrounding him, and the second phase, he has 2 swords and a bunch of different attacks. So this fight is a little bit RNG dependent, similarly with the first fight as well. Which, again, we didn't see, so I don't know why I'm mentioning it. But the less darts he gives you, the better. Oftentimes, he'll just let you attack him, like he is with Indy right now, just blocking in different positions. There we go, leaving the other ones open for attack. And then I'll do this. Wow, that was a fast fight. But yeah, it jumps up in the air and basically just gives you a free hit on him. So that was pretty fantastic RNG from Girahim for Indy there. So pretty nice. Nice fight. Could be with him too. Well, let's hope for one. Let's hope for a good M2 then. Now done with Fire Sanctuary, and we have the last back in time of the run coming up. So to do, this is a story flag RBM. To do this RBM, it's pretty important that he saves there. And then we can just die with the flames, though obviously we need to use the fairy. And of course, isn't it quite fitting that our last RBM, or our last back in time, is a Ferran back in time. So this is probably the most complicated back in time of the run, closely followed by the Lake Floreador's cutscene, which he did just before the Ferran Trial. But again, standard Ferran bit strats. Go to the sky with file 2. Fly to the pillar. Go in with file 3. Or yeah, file 3. Or is it? We will see. Yep, file 3. So this is a rather precise RBM. Not in its timing, but just in everything you have to do to get to the point where the flag actually sets. So first we have we want to bit save here because we're going to be doing the Imprison 2 fight next. So important that he saves there, and also now updates the state of this area so that he's in, he's got the Grusenator tracks there. And then he wants to jump down with file 1 selected, open the door with file 3 selected, and switch to file 1. Although opening it and selecting file 1 at the same time does of course work. And then charge the Skyward Strike and open file 1 so that it loads in the Prison 2 cutscene being there. The story flag is a couple seconds after the camera changes when Gruce runs away to go prepare the Grusenator. And if done right, that looked like good timing. The giant circle at the bottom, there we go, should be flashing red. And this fight has some pretty precise strats. So first he wants to hit his fingers in his left hand, which he gets successfully, and then jump on his head with the vent. And then, alright, good. When he wants to do that very specific attack where he spin attacks and then jump slashes, and oh my goodness, what a save! Normally you want to spin attack, but he accidentally just did a normal slash, and normally you can't. If you mess up the attack, you can't do the jump slash again. Oh, he accidentally spin attacked wrong way. So basically what that jump slash does is if you hit the spike on the Imprison's head while in the air, then it cancels the cutscene of him throwing Link off, or of it cancels like the animation of Link being off balance, and so he doesn't fall off as a result. Oh, I know. So just a little bit of an unfortunate moment there, accidentally spin attacking to the side rather than downward. But he doesn't need to do the strat again to stay on his head, because obviously he's been defeated, or the prison has been defeated, so yeah, nothing else to worry about. And now it's just on to the end game.
So basically, now, ooh, 10 seconds behind PB. Come on, go Indy, it's still possible. Um, but now with with that finished, we just have the Horde, Girahim 3, and Demise to go. Now you might be wondering, well, there's a whole section of gameplay left. You have to go to each region again. Well, actually we do not, because the super extra, super duper omega special RBM that I was talking about earlier, where he did an RBM with the Lake Floor. Oh, nice vent glitch. With the Lake Floria door cutscene. That actually opens the door to Hylia's realm in the past. So, or to the Horde in the past, which is Hylia's realm. It's called, don't know why, but it is. So now all we have to do is go through the gate and get the. We can actually skip the True Master Sword, and it is theoretically faster to do so, but it's very difficult and much less consistent. So so yeah, it makes it much easier to just get the True Master Sword, because it can actually knock enemies off balance, which the normal Master Sword, non-upgraded Master Sword can't. So hardly worth the little bit of time save.
Hey!
Bonks the door for swag points. And now this door is open, so he can just go straight to the Horde and end game, or end stuff. So he's gonna. The Horde is very difficult. Well, very difficult to do damageless, but also kind of difficult to get through at all. We have this first set of enemies, which are just the problems with blue hats. And they take a little bit more to defeat than normal goblins, but with good attack, yes, I am seeing a lot of pixelation, sadly. Anyway, with good attacks, he can defeat them all pretty quickly. And now if he enters this section with the moblins correctly and runs up his shield properly, he can skip to the next section of the pit in Seal Grounds, and that actually skips one of the enemies that we normally have to fight in the Horde, and it's probably the most annoying one, so very convenient. And then the Stalfos, pretty easy, with a pretty simple set of attacks. Yeah, good thing this is only happening during the end of the run, but dear goodness. So we'll see how Indy's jukes are in getting around these archers. He gets hit, but it's fine because he does have a fairy, and can just go right through.
now with the Skyward Strike giving extra range, you can just finish those guys off in a couple Skyward Spin attacks. And now we have the Girahim fight. So basically the strat for this is just knock him off as quickly as you can to start the next phase. And between when he knocks him off and when that cutscene starts, that little mini cutscene starts to show Girahim falling, he wants to jump off the edge to get down there quicker, and that just saves a little bit of time over having to jump all the way from the next level. And he has these purple hand things which block your sword. So good first phase there. So the second phase, Girahim is going to bring out one of his swords, and we have a strat to actually defeat this guy in this phase in one cycle. We just hit his sword out of his hand right away, and then do a Skyward Strike, and then 4 attacks, or 3 or 4 attacks, depending on if you get an extra hit.
You wretched brat!
And then Skyward Strike again and finish him off. Then Skyward Strike his big sword and stab. And now we're on the Demise fight. So the Demise fight is highly choreographed with very specific, precise, and precise movement actions. So I'll just let the... Oh, shut up, Floha. My throat hurts, alright? You tried talking for 2.5 hours. So anyway, I'll just let the fight speak for itself. Ooh. Missed a second backflip there, but yeah. Demise fight is pretty not perfectly easy to get right. I don't even remember Floha, but I bet you didn't sound dramatic at all either. Okay, Demise with a bit of a weird movement there. Normally you're able to knock him down there right away, but he shot his lightning at Link a little bit too quickly. Indy jumping a little bit too eagerly to end him on the first time he goes down, but the second time he goes down, he can finish Demise off, and that is a 2:28:13. So GG from indykenobi moves on to the next round to face up against Chimera. Yeah, very weird. Very weird Demise fight. So how close was that to a PB? And Floha, unfortunately, out of the tournament.
Hello?
Hello, hello. So how close was that to a PB?
30 seconds.
Oh.
If I just had good Demise fight, I'd PB by like, I don't know, 10 seconds or something.
Yeah, that was a weird fight.
He faked at the beginning. right? So usually I backflip two of his attacks and then I can
Hi.
hit him. But the fake at the beginning delayed his timing enough that he did the attack that I can hit him on second instead of third. So that threw off my timing, and that's what killed me.
GG, by the way.
Thank you.
Still beats my PB.
Yeah, it was a really good run.
Up
pretty much-
until whatever happened in prison too. Like you almost messed it up, and then you got the
I
first
saved
one.
it.
You
and then
almost
I
messed
threw
it
it
up,
away.
then you saved it, and then accidental horizontal spin attack.
Yeah, that was pretty killer. Cistern was kind of killer too. The Collectos fight, that is.
Yeah.
The
Honestly, any one of those goes away, it's like a minute PB.
I mean, if I even Cistern alone, I'm probably looking at a 226 or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's I don't know. It was pretty much when I do these runs, if I get Scaldera first try, I'm okay. Like that's
Nice.
the thing that's big, since it's bombless. That fight is a mess.
Yeah,
without bombs.
Understandable.
But that was a really good Scaldera fight.
Yeah, that's pretty much as well as it ever goes. So I was happy with that. I was only 10 seconds behind after the harp, and I didn't get extending blow. And then
Oh
I
yeah, you got
missed-
extending blow in your PB.
I missed harp cancel, which was kind of too bad.
Yeah.
But then everything from there to Cistern was pretty good. I don't know. It was a pretty good run, I think.
Yeah, definitely like really consistent with like the movement and execution of everything, just a few small mistakes. But that can ruin a run. Or
Yeah. Well, especially with the way this is now, if you make a small mistake at the wrong place, you're either soft locked or losing 5 minutes. So
yeah, you have this crazy route going.
Yeah.
It's not kind.
I don't know
route-
what I'm supposed to say to that. Yeah.
I mean, hey, it's your first run in 9 months, so something like that's bound to happen. I guarantee you, if you did another run right now, you'd probably PB.
It's actually my second run, because I did one
Like 3
during
weeks
my
ago.
first tournament race, basically, which I basically finished. I did not actually finish because I was like stuck up at the Horde fight, because I died 3 times at Horde and was like, nope, I'm out of here. But basically, I finished that run.
Basically finished. It
Yeah.
counts.
yeah, it's a hard run to learn now because all these RBM tricks, they look really straightforward, but there's a lot of little things we're doing that don't show to the casual viewer, and if you miss those little things, everything goes wrong.
Yeah, I
a lot-
agree.
A lot of us were lucky because we were already running this game for a while before that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
But like even for me, picking this up after RBM was discovered, it took a long time to get used to the different RBMs and
Yeah.
then even longer to try and optimize movement during all of that stuff.
Yeah, it still baffles me, some of this stuff, like what even is happening during this.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand it on like a coding level, I guess, for lack of a better phrase. I understand how the flags are being manipulated, but it's still just kind of like, it's bizarre how we have to set things up and manipulate everything. Like,
Yeah. I
even just
agree.
little
This is
things
very
like getting the
crazy.
red rupee in Skyview, that red
Yeah.
rupee is what lets us enter Vatro's house. So it's just this
Yeah,
random little thing.
you wouldn't believe how often I just forget about that red rupee.
I forgot about that red rupee, like one of my practice playthroughs of this route.
Yeah, I constantly forget about that red rupee, and I'm constantly like, wait, I forgot about that red rupee. Yeah, fun.
Yeah, not fun at all.
Yeah, it was. It's become an entirely different run than it used to be.
That is true.
The good old days when we still fought in Prison 3.
I remember when we fought.
When any percent was 5 hours.
Yeah.
And Headtones and Bokoblin Base and Resident Sleeper Minecart Escort.
Oh boy.
I really like the route I just ran though.
That cistern route looks so fun.
It's really fun. So it actually does cistern clip 3 times. The first time is to death warp, so you heal enough that you can survive the other cistern clips. I tested like 5 different ways to death warp to fill up hearts, and that's like 2 seconds faster than just straight up drowning. Assuming you get the clip.
I was gonna say, couldn't you drown? But then because you have to save, and then by that time you're right next to where you do the thing, so you might as well.
Yeah, it's a 2-second difference. So really, if you don't get the clip the first time, you're pretty much losing time over drowning. But I don't know. It's just something fun about clipping 3 times.
I feel kind of bad because I thought you were trolling when you said that was an intentional death. I thought you just completely forgot that you were only on 2 hearts.
No, it was actually intentional, although I wish I had gotten the clip a little faster. But I really like the cistern route. I like the Elden 1 route, skipping the digging mitts and taking the air vent up the mountain. Earth Temple is a lot easier until you get to Scaldera, and then you just pray you survive the fight. Everything else is mostly the same as sort of the standard route. But just having that cistern clip in Ancient Cistern lets you do a lot of sort of different things, and it was really fun to play around with it, and I think I've settled on something which is pretty good. If you do run English 1.0, anyone, by the way, the bomb bag skip only saves 25 seconds, so if you're a sane person, you should probably just get bombs.
Yeah.
If you're a sane person, you should probably keep your sanity, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
That is true.
The last run I did before this race was Monday night, and I soft locked on Scaldera twice and then died, and I was like 10 minutes down and I just quit. I was like, I'm done.
Yeah, that sounds that's pretty sounds about right.
My last run was basically the one from my last journey match, and yeah, that's about it.
I think I've done 3 different routes for my 3 different tournament races.
Really?
Hey, time for a new route, Indy.
Yeah,
well, I did the old Cistern second route during my first race because I hadn't really gotten back into it yet. And then I did the more standard route without skipping bombs, I think, for my second race. And now this one I skip bombs. So I don't know what I'll do next time.
It's
find
gonna
out.
be a surprise.
Yeah, just find some like really small route change and just say, hey, I did a different route.
I might do the same thing and just get bombs next time. We'll see how I feel going into it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, anything else? Other comments?
I have nothing to add besides that I'm actually happy that I'm out of the tournament now.
Thank you for racing, Floha, and thank you for commentating, Dish. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, shoutouts for commentating. I just, I don't know, this whole tourney was like a pretty big train wreck for me.
And shoutouts to Ricky of Kokiri for the restream.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, GG's on the race, indykenobi, and thank you, Floha. Very sorry the back in time glitch didn't work out. And thank you, Dish, for the commentary. Speaking of Dish, indykenobi is facing off against Chimera SR in the next round, but whoever wins that one goes up against Dish in round 4. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, I hope I'll see you on that race, Dish.
Yeah, Battle of the English.
I don't know, Chimera's scary, though. I don't know if I'll beat Chimera.
Yeah, Chimera's good. Well, you know what? Just don't mess up the lumpy pumpkin back in time 3 times, and you'll be fine.
Sounds good. I'll remember that. Put that in the note.
Alright.
And outside of this tournament, Zelda Speedruns, we have an Ocarina of Time standard randomizer standard tournament match happening right now, which we're going to be rating. That's between What the Hell Happened versus Phoenix Feather. There's a Challenge Cup race happening with Pink Kitty Rose versus Zephyr. And then later tonight, we have a Link to the Past All Dungeons Restricted Major Glitches tournament between Zero Rush and Apathy Duck. Thank you so much for watching. We're going to go raid ZSR now. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye.
So
Yeah.
long.